Long before the 49ers won 4 Super Bowls, San Francisco thrilled to the exploits of another great team. But these weren't pros. The 1951 University of San Francisco Dons were a small college team with a big-time lineup. In fact, they were the most magnificent 11 that no one ever heard of.
In 1951, the spirit of Knute Rockne was reborn in the hills of San Francisco. It came in the person of Joe Kuharich, head coach at the tiny university that bears the city's name. And though his team didn't even have a football field to practice on, Kuharich was undaunted. He took a track star named Ollie Matson and some local toughs led by a World War II veteran named Gino Marchetti. Then he took them away to summer camp to teach them to play football his way.
I don't know if you've ever been to hell, but that 2 weeks up there was probably the toughest 2 weeks I've ever had in football.
Let me tell you, I went up there weighing 210 pounds and came back weighing 188. But I was ready. But it was a mission.
Kuharich's mission was twofold: to condition his team physically to out-hit anyone, and to train his raw-boned young men like Bob St. Clair mentally to believe that they could beat anyone.
We came back and we played Tulsa, University of Tulsa. It was a night game in Kezar, and they were favored by about 14 points. We killed them. Physically, we just ran all, #1 offensive team in the country around here. The rinky-dink USF team cleaned their clock.
A great team had materialized, but the team's rookie PR man still had to convince the coach that their game-breaking style was okay.
Joe Kuharich liked the days in the 30s when he was a guard for Notre Dame, and he was just enchanted with these long drives. And the story was that he'd run Matson up the middle for 6, and then Scudero maybe around wide for 4 yards, and just move down the field. Nice drive going. Then Matson would blow the whole thing by running 50 for a touchdown.
Pete Rozelle and the team realized that Matson was their ticket to national recognition and a national ranking.
There wasn't a back like Matson. He was one of the first big running backs with a dazzling speed. He's very quiet, you know. All he had to say was, give me the ball. And Ed and Ollie and Gino and we'd all look at one another and he said, give him the ball. You know, let's do as he says, you know.
Teammates like Marchetti relished rocking for Matson. And the USF student body thrilled to his runs and to the sudden success of its football team.
The student body was very, very loyal, and near the end of the game when USF had it locked up, the band would play this great folk song that came out at that time, Good Night, Irene. And the rooting session would simultaneously wave their handkerchiefs, you know, the opposition.
And let me tell you, the whole stand was saying, good night, Irene. Irene, good night. And hey, this was the greatest. And we had the city. The city was behind us. And you see, when you get a city behind you, that's it. I tell you, I thought we really owned San Francisco. I thought this was our city.
Irene, good night.
Matson led the nation in rushing and scoring as USF waltzed through its schedule, winning every game by an average score of 33-8.
Good night, Irene.
Two-way stars like Ed Brown, St. Clair, number 86, and Marchetti anchored the massive defense. But there was one opponent yet to conquer. Financial problems threatened the survival of the program itself unless the team could bring in one big payday, the kind only a bowl game could deliver.
Joe had told us twice that the Orange Bowl committee was watching us, and if we had performed in these certain games that we really had the front inside track. And the biggest one probably was against College of Pacific with Eddie Macon and their undefeated team.
The Dons were primed for a winner-take-all dogfight between the West Coast's 2 unbeaten independents. But Pacific might as well have turned tail and fled. Matson and company humiliated Pacific, and the Dons awaited their invitation from the bowl committee.
We blew them out of their own stadium, 42-14. They ended up in the bowl game, and we ended up at home.
One of the rumors that came out was that we weren't accepted to play against Georgia Tech because of the 2 black players. And if we had accepted it, it would have been under the terms of leaving the 2 black players at home.
Would never done that. I would have never done that. I don't think any of us would. Tell them to go to hell. Exactly the way I feel.
Burl Toller, Brown, Marchetti, and Matson did receive individual honors, But it was as if the team's 9-game ride to glory had never happened.
Undefeated, untied, and uninvited. But you see, you don't cry over spilled milk. You have to let it go. And as long as you know who's the best, what difference does it make?
The University of San Francisco never fielded a football team again. But 10 men, virtually the entire starting lineup, stepped right into the NFL. Number 87, Ralph Thomas, Lou Stevens, and Mike Mergen all played for Kuharich in the pros, as did number 28, Joe Scudero, who became an All-Pro for the Redskins. The achievements of the others are the ultimate legacy of that 51 team's greatness. Still, the story of the Dons remains just a footnote in football history. Maybe the most magnificent 11 that ever took the field. And the best team you never heard of.
One thing that stands out about the 1951 Dons was their loyalty. A case in point, Burl Toller, who Gino Marchetti called the best player on the team, suffered a knee injury that prevented him from playing in the NFL. But in 1965, Pete Rozelle named Toller the league's first black official. Loyalty and lasting admiration. These qualities enabled the magnificent 11 of USF to leave a lasting impact on the NFL.
Here's a flag. There's a big pileup. Here come all the Raiders. Holy Toledo. It's a free-for-all.
People said that we had renegades, but they were my renegades, so I didn't think they were renegades. I never sat around and said, well, I got a lot of renegades here. If that's the way they're going to portray you, I just figure, let's take it. If that's what they want to say we are, we're really not, but we'll be that. Anytime you were playing a team with a dark jersey, you would have your protective, hand or arm color would be dark. Anytime you played a team that was wearing a white jersey, your protective things in your hands would be white so that you couldn't see them holding.
The Raiders were always looking for an edge. Fred Biletnikoff had one, smeared on his socks.
He would get a big handful of stickum, and he would rub the stickum all over, and then he would take a spray can of something you could probably lay brick with, and he would just spray that stickum. You throw him a ball in the first quarter, he's got grass stains everywhere on him. It looked like he'd been playing for a month.
Biletnikoff used so much stickum, he needed to be spoon-fed chewing gum. But that was not the only suspicious activity on the Raiders sideline.
We had a guy named George Anderson who was our trainer, and he was like in the CIA or something. They would have experts in demolition or something. George was an expert in pads, probably most of them illegal. George added to my gloves. What he did was he took the stuff from the, like you make casts out, he put it in the hot water, and then he molded it for me. What I essentially had was 2 casts. So when I hit somebody, boom, that was my first shot, right to their eye. I could take them down if I hit them just perfect. I used to like to call it the rake and the can opener. When you got them and you had them in the throat, you do like that, and you could pop the helmet off, that would be the can opener. One time, O.J. Simpson, they hit him just perfect. They showed this tackle I made for the whole year. Juice's helmet came off, and helmet went flying, and he dropped to his knees and went like this. I contribute that to our wonderful trainer that was a master of illegal pads.
The league's island of lost souls.
It's always a group that's seen as a renegade group, the halfway house of the NFL, guys that didn't fit in anywhere else, and they always seem to come to the Raiders and thrive. And it was a simple reason why it always seemed to work, because Al Davis always gave you a chance to be you. And we used to tell all the players, there ain't many stops after you leave here.
One player expected to help Oakland win right away was Matt Millen. The Raiders selected the Penn State linebacker with their second-round pick.
What did I know about the Oakland Raiders? Heck, not very much. I knew them by reputation. I knew they were kind of a rogue outfit. There was a sign that hung above our old locker room, and it said, "The Raider rules. Raider rule number 1, cheating is encouraged. Raider rule number 2, see rule number 1.
It was something we said among ourselves when we would be out away from the game. If we were playing golf, if we were playing shuffleboard, if whatever was going on, the old saying was, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
And you laughed about it. You laughed about it until you realized that what they're saying is, find a way to get it done. Find a way to get it done. If somebody holds you, how do you make them stop? If you need to talk to the official, fine. If you need to grab them by the throat, great. If you need to punch them in the throat, whatever you need to do, get that done. Is that cheating? Well, you know, I read Raider rule number 1. Cheating was encouraged. Is that cheating? Actually, no, it isn't. I learned very early. Every game has its own set of rules, and every officiating crew calls them differently. Whatever those rules were that day, you learned them fast, and then you learn how to skirt them.
Whether the Raiders cheated or not didn't matter. Few thought Oakland would win in 1980.